started. We're live.
Okay. Well, I'll jump into your feeds and I'll comment on things that they're saying. Because 7 Habits, I can have a view about and stuff like that. Would be interesting.
And we've got the email address set up, so socialexperimentpodcast@gmail.com. There's a Twitter account. I mean, I'm not a fan of Twitter, but I thought you kind of need to have it. So it's Social X Podcast on Twitter, and that's going to be showing up in the videos down at the bottom.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you need to be on Twitter.
Aye.
If we're going to influence, right?
You've got to influence,
and that's what we're going to talk about. See what I did there?
That was a good segue.
See, like a professional.
Probably should start formally. So I'm Mark Hunter. My website is wearepostable.com.
I'm Andy Curry. My website is thinkdistinct.co.uk.
So this is episode 2 of the Social Experiment podcast, and we're going to talk about social media influencers.
Yeah. Why are we talking about this? What's your...
It's something I think it's a bubble at the minute. So the whole idea of social media influencers is there's these people on typically something like Instagram, maybe YouTube, and they've got a big following. So tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions. If you're looking at the Kardashians, for example, millions of people follow them. And then brands and businesses want to pay them to somehow endorse their product or their hotel or their drink or their makeup. And I think it's a bubble that's going to burst. And I think there's loads of sort of legal grey areas around social media.
Don't speak too soon when giving all your opinions about it.
I know.
It's like, and is that why we need to talk about it now before it bursts?
I think talk about it now. Also, you know, what we're trying to, a theme we're trying to keep going is this authenticity, sort of being real. And there's something completely inauthentic about social media influencers.
Yeah, this is more your area than mine, but one of the things that springs to mind for me is where you see folk, they announce that they are now an influencer, and then they do they become famous for being famous? I guess it's like in other fields as well, and then they, from my observations about it, they seem to follow certain tactics. Typically, it involves opening boxes. I mean, a big scene about opening boxes, that kind of thing.
A box from X brand. Let's see what's in it.
Yeah, so presumably there's like tactics that they feel that they've sort of they've codified how to become an influencer.
It's a good point, yeah. And it's a job. So there's a desire to be one. Really, really quickly, I was talking to, I had a wee meeting with somebody that I'm hoping is going to be a guest on, so I keep meaning to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, she was telling me that the multinational that she worked for a number of years, they wanted to use some influencers. So it's an alternative form of advertising where you can go the traditional route and you buy a 30-second slot on ITV or Sky, and it costs X.
Yeah.
But everybody fast forwards it, you know, everybody TiVos or Sky Pluses, everything. I don't know whether you do that. I know I do it, and I never watch TV ads. So there's a shift from traditional old media advertising into new digital media advertising.
Yeah, and it makes sense. And I suppose marketing's always worked this way, where if you build a relationship with a personality, and they use a particular product or they're interested in a thing, then you want to be that person, right? You want to model it. But I think what I was hinting at a second ago is that it would have been, in the past, it would have been people who were already known for something, football or whatever. And then that's where their influence came from. That's where their following came from.
Exactly. So
that's where the market comes from. And then they might endorse something, whereas now you're seeing kind of folk that suddenly announce themselves as an influencer, and it kind of feels like it's back to front.
I would totally agree, and I that I'm sure plays into the fact, in my opinion, the bubble will burst. People are going to see through this whole idea. But this friend I've got that worked for this multinational, she said that they reached out to some influencers and basically they just wanted them to use their product in a video. So the video was going to be made and they'd sort of a checklist of things that they wanted to be in this video featuring their product. One influencer quoted them 70 grand UK sterling for this wee video, and they eventually settled another one who was charging them 15 grand.
So presumably there must be some like economics about that, or some metrics about that. So they must be able to look at that and say, well, I'll get so many.
Stomach's rumbling.
I know. So many viewers, and if I get this amount of viewers, then this is the likely sales increase. So there must be. Are they able to demonstrate that?
So there's two words for it: reach or clout.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just call it reach. Let's say you're an Instagram influencer and you've got 100,000 followers on your account. So on paper, you've got a reach of 100,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really, because the algorithm that determines how many people see your content on Instagram kicks in.
Yeah.
And it's a significantly smaller number than that, but it's a number that looks good on paper. So if you've styled yourself as an influencer based around, let's say, fitness, lifestyle and travel, you want to do brand deals with businesses who want an audience who are interested in those three particular topics, and you've got an audience of 100,000 people. My question always is, who are that 100,000 people? Are they actually real? Because there is a whole thing with buying followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
People want to get to 10,000 followers on Instagram because that's perceived as sort of being the follower tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do extra things on your account. So your Instagram stories, you can have a swipe up to go to a web page or whatever. So that's the first thing. Is that reach a genuine reach? Is it actually 100,000 people? So I'm interested in photography, for example. If I follow an Instagram influencer, I'm a genuine person who's interested in the stuff that they talk about. Mm. But a lot of these accounts where it's sort of like the whole lifestyle thing, I just don't know how many people are actually going to be interested in some girl talking like, hey guys, I know you're always asking me about my skincare routine, so in this video I'm going to show you exactly yeah. Who's real interested in your skincare routine? I'm interested in, Canon's new EOS R camera bodies.
Yeah.
So it goes back to the whole idea of it just always being a bit inauthentic.
How will the bubble burst? Will we just realise that and we won't be able to use these channels in this way now, and something else will have to come along? How will it burst?
I think people are starting to wake up to it. This made the news. This made mainstream news. It was a couple of weeks ago. This German influencer couple, where they made a video and had an associated GoFundMe account because they wanted to raise $9,000, let's say, to go on some trip where they would be taking photographs and making videos, taking photographs of themselves on this trip, making videos to put on their Instagram. In order to go on the trip, they needed the money, so they've set up a GoFundMe to get the money so that they could go on this trip and be influencers and show. And so there was a genuine backlash to that. So the guy followed it up with a video. There might have been a blog post as well, saying, you know what, guys, I'm going to take 30 days out. I'm going to spend 30 days walking, really going to centre myself again, etc. And there was a great comment on it that said, why don't you take a walk to the job centre? Because it turned out that the guy's mother was working 2 jobs in order to fund their influencer lifestyle. So that's what I'm saying, it's perceived as being a job. If some influencers are charging 70 grand a video, you can understand why there's a lot of people of a certain age deciding that's what I want to do for a job. But in order to become an influencer, you need followers. To have followers, you typically need content. To have content, you need to be doing things.
The other thing that springs to mind for me, and see how related this is. So I get... So my interest in social media, I thought I probably should spend a little bit more time on LinkedIn because that's where most of my kind of peers, most of my clients are likely to hang out and at least, share ideas and then they might hear about the work that I do. So I've been spending a lot more time on LinkedIn in recent, let's say, months, maybe the last year. And so there are LinkedIn influencers, self-proclaimed LinkedIn influencers. Some of them I follow because I wanted to understand what the phenomenon was about. But they'll send me invites now and they'll say, hey, do you know about the work that I do? If you link in with me and you follow my process, I'll be able to get you lots of followers. And I'm thinking, well, but all you've done is like cold messaged me.
Yeah.
So like, should I not do that now?
Yeah.
It's like there's not much of a process there if that's how you're getting people to follow you. And
No, totally, and it's just not real. It doesn't. We talked about that in the networking one. You've got to have an element of authenticity and realness, real life, when you're talking to people and dealing with people. But I think another reason why I think the bubble is going to burst. So the one hand, I think people are starting to see through it. I think they're starting to call bullshit on a lot of these so-called influencers, particularly a contestant on Love Island 3 years ago, for example. They're now an influencer on Instagram, and brands are sending them various products to use. And there's a guy on Facebook and Instagram who's a personal trainer called James Smith. I think I might have mentioned him to you the first time we met.
I've checked it.
But he's so good at calling them out. And, so they get sent, these teas and products that are supposed to facilitate
we can edit
rapid.
that out, right?
Yeah, I can actually.
Good.
So they get sent these products that are supposed to rapidly speed up weight loss, and they post photographs on Instagram before and after, and he calls them out and goes, well, that's clearly been taken in the same day. All you've done is sucked your belly in and changed your pants.
Yeah.
And I think if there's people like him calling them out, if there's people like that German couple falling flat on their face, begging for $9,000 to go on a trip so that they can take photographs to inspire people or somehow influence people. The other way that I think it's going to burst, eventually I'd like to get your thoughts on some of the kind of psychology of the herd behaviour, where Andy says that's great, I'll need to do it as well. But another way I think it's going to burst is the legal aspect of it, because it's technically not legal.
Yeah.
So if I give you £10,000 to make a video for LinkedIn saying that I'm the top digital marketing consultant in the UK, and how if you use my services it's going to completely transform your business, but you don't let your audience know that I've given you £10,000 to say that, that's illegal.
Yeah.
You're receiving a product, you're receiving money to endorse a product or a service.
Yeah.
It has to be clearly stated your relationship with the product or the service that you're endorsing. That is the whole influencer model. So they go to these hotels, they go to resorts, they receive beauty products, they receive fitness gear, they make these videos and photographs about it, but they don't disclose the fact they've received money for doing so. It's not a grey area, it's illegal.
And you'll see, I mean, that's such an important point, right? You'll see folk that will, when they do endorse things, naturally say, I use this mic or I use this product, and I'm telling you I like it because I like it, and they have in no way, paid me money to say this, or I'm not affiliated with them, and so you're seeing a lot more of that now as well.
And that's more authentic.
Yeah.
If somebody was to contact you or I and they say, listen, what are the mics you use in the podcast? And we go, well, they're my rants, whatever they are. But do you like them? Yeah, they're pretty good.
We think they're fantastic.
If Marantz want to sponsor the podcast, get in touch, social media experience, social experiment podcast at gmail.com. That's much more real. So that type of relationship with your customer, relationship with the market, I should say, is through being a thought leader. So somebody sees your work, they admire your work. So I'll go back to photography again. I'll watch loads of YouTube videos where they'll use certain lights, certain modifiers, and admire their work. And I'll go, okay, what sort of modifier is that? What sort of camera they're using? Or you leave a comment and you ask, and they go, well, it's such and such. I think the different. Let's go from the viewpoint of somebody watching this that has a brand or a business and they want to use influencer marketing. And there's loads and loads of articles online where social and digital media agencies are encouraging their clients to use influencer marketing, and they'll be the conduit. We'll connect you to the influencers. I would urge massive caution for that, but instead find thought leaders. And try and build a relationship with them. So if I want to learn a new thing in photography, there's one or two photography channels I'll go to, and I think the guys' works they're excellent, and I'm interested in the gear that they use. If I was a photography manufacturer, so I made lights, modifiers, strobes, whatever it would be, I'd be reaching out to them, not to be influencers, but instead build a relationship with them and say, would you try one of my products in your video and not pay them? You can keep the product. I'm not going to pay you. They're a thought leader. They're authentic. They're real. And if they use my product, I think that would be beneficial rather than me having to pay but keep it secret. I don't know if I'm making much sense, but it's the difference between an inauthentic influencer and an authentic thought leader, somebody who's respected in their industry.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, one of the things I'm concerned about, I've got 2 young kids, and, I see them coming into this, and I just think, maybe all parents are going to think this to some extent. What kind of world are we bringing these kids into? But more importantly, like, what skills can I teach them?
Yeah.
Where they can discern what's real. I asked my daughter at one point, like, she was looking at something. I said, "What? Can I have a look to see what it is you're looking at?" And it was a family that she follows, and I said, "So let me. Can I search for something? And I'll just look at it as if I've come across it anew, and rather than her picking something." So, I jumped in, had a look, and it was a kind of a sweet story about, couple of sisters who wanted to do a card for their older sister, I think, who was entering a surfing competition. So it all seemed, and it was done sort of documentary style and sort of shaky camera and all that kind of stuff. But as I started to pay attention to it more, I realised, man, they're in like a cracking big house, and everything's very polished. And you can tell, if you pay attention, you can tell if something's scripted or not. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I thought, I wonder how many takes it took to take this picture, to get that angle right, and to create this kind of idealised lifestyle. So my children are watching this, and they're experiencing it as something real in the world, and it's not real. So it's actually a program. It's actually made up. You could say it's manufactured, but they're experiencing it as real. So the basis that they're going to then make judgments in the future about what's real, or expectations about themselves. Can everyone enter a surfing competition? Can everyone travel the world? Can everyone have a kitchen like this? It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
I suppose, so for me, it's like, how can we teach people skills as well that they can start to discern?
They can spot it. Yep, definitely. So I think that there's a number of ways people need to be cautious of it. From our children being influenced by these influencers, that's a horror story in my opinion, because it's completely unauthentic. But also, if businesses want to, so Lush, right, bath bombs and all that kind of stuff, they're one of the only shops you can go into where you get a headache within 3 seconds because of all the overpowering smells. They quit social media.
Call it.
They quit social media in April. So they were no longer going to be, this is in the UK, no longer going to be updating their Instagram and their Facebook. So I did a video, I had a rant about that. And one of the things that they said they were going to do is they were going to rely on their community to be their voice. For me, that's just a veiled way of saying they're going to use influencers. So I hope that Lush is completely open and honest, that it's going to be using paid influencers. Because if they're not, then it's what's called astroturfing, fake grassroots, which is, you're not allowed to do. Companies can get fined thousands of pounds for doing that. But if they're just going to expect their customers to be their voice for free, I don't think that's right either. You're talking about a business that turns over a ton of money, and let's say your missus uses Lush, and Lush is like, could you make a video talking about how much you love our bath bombs? Yeah. You'd maybe do it once, but then if it's expected of you when you buy something, we're going to talk about this on social media, we'll have to do your advertising for you.
Where will it end?
I don't think that's right either.
Yeah. So how should it work?
Transparency.
Yeah.
Transparency.
Honesty, transparency, building relationships.
Yeah.
And how do we call it when we see it? How can we accelerate the demise of
demise of the social media influencer?
How can we start a revolution?
I know. I think as you say, it's educating a younger generation, educating our sons and daughters to
So we need to get used to the media.
Yeah.
Like, there's this idea that we've got all this cracking technology, but we've got it too fast. We've not caught up with ourselves, because we're still, like something you may talk about, we're still basically hunter-gatherers, so we still do things that would have worked in the savannah, but don't work in this modern world. So we need to kind of catch up with ourselves before the technology gets too far ahead. Yeah. Something like that. As we're talking, I'm reminded, because I always like to chip in about psychology, it's what I do. Things I think I've decided. It's like there's an experiment where you can see this. I'm sure you can see this on YouTube somewhere. We should get the link. We should try and find the link where they set up a camera. It's in a waiting room, and so someone comes in and finds someone in the waiting room already. You've maybe seen this. Find someone in the waiting room already, and every now and then a beep goes off, and the person stands up. And at first it's like, what's happening there? And eventually the beeps, and then the second person stands up, and then more people enter the room, and every now and then the beep goes off, and eventually everyone's standing up. And I think they take out the original person.
That's right.
So there's no one in the. So that if we don't already appreciate it, the first person was a stooge. They were in on the experiment.
Yeah.
So eventually you have a whole room of folk standing up to a beep periodically. They don't understand why they're doing it. So we've got this kind of herd.
See, one of the reasons they did that experiment is because it was that behaviour was spotted in chimps.
Yeah.
In captivity. So
Yeah,
basically there was something to do with a banana was placed in a certain place, and if a chimp went to get it, it may have been an electric shock current, and then eventually the chimps realise if anybody goes for that banana, we're all going to get a shock. So they would beat up the chimp that was going to reach for the banana, and eventually they would replace chimps, and the new chimp would immediately go for the banana. He'd get a kicking from the other ones, and then eventually they stopped doing the electric shock, and it just basically the banana sat there and nobody would go for it. And that's herd behaviour.
Yeah. We sometimes use that as a metaphor in organisations where, all the monkeys are pulling all the other monkeys down, and none of them know why.
Yeah.
And cultures can develop that like that in organisations where everybody's kind of down on everybody else, but it's like we've forgotten why we're down on everyone else. So it's a way that cultures hold people.
I'd made a note about the herd behaviour thing. And I think it sort of goes back to you trying to point out to your kids, they see these videos from these influencer families in America, is to spot their reaction to it. Like, why do you want to have what they have? What do they really offer you? The note I'd made about it is people are doing what others do instead of doing research and making their own decisions. Mm-hmm. And social media influencer is definitely playing into that, where somebody who was on Love Island 3 years ago says, if you drink this tea, you're going to lose 5 stone this month. Yeah. And young girls are going, oh, I need to have that. When there's no science to back up what she's claimed. She's been paid to promote it. And that's herd
So the whole thing's based
again.
on a fantasy. I was coaching someone today, and one of the things that came up was, it commonly comes up in coaching, is that we might look at someone as, I mean, it's a phenomenon. It happens to guys as well. But the example I was thinking of that was with how women perceive each other. It can happen with guys as well. You can just swap guy for women, but you can imagine where you're dropping the kids off at school. You see a really slickly dressed woman. She's dropping her kid off. She's brokering a deal on the phone. Mm-hmm. Her life's perfect. She's brought cakes to the bacon sale type thing. She's got her shiz together. She's got a life together. And then, you feel bad because you're not quite, you're rushing to work, your life's a shambles by comparison, but you don't really know what's going on in that person's life. You don't really know. You're only seeing a facade. You're only seeing, what we can tell is she knew how to dress herself this morning. She knew how to get to the school on time, but you don't really know the sum total of our life.
The housekeeper baked the cookies, the nanny got the kids ready.
Yeah.
And her husband hates her.
Yeah, and the behavioural model and stuff that I do, we talk about confusing part for whole. You're seeing a part of all that's going on there, but you can't possibly make a detailed judgment about how complex this person's life is, or what meaning you should derive from it. So similarly, you see something on Facebook or you see something on Instagram, you cannot make a judgment about your life, let alone, well, maybe it's the other way around. You cannot make a judgment about whether you should buy something or not, or whether that's really good for your life, let alone make a judgment globally about your life in comparison with other folk. It's just deadly.
Yeah. I've got a couple other anecdotes to share about social media influencers. Do you want to hear them?
Yeah, I'd love to hear them.
Right, and that's all of this kind of starts to play into my a bit of aversion to them. So a number of months ago, in fact, I know exactly when it was. It was Valentine's Day, February the 14th. I sat for most of the day shooting and editing a video on what I call thumb stopping content. So it was the concept is when somebody's scrolling through their feed in a social network, you want your brand or business's content to stop their thumb. That's the number one reaction you get. So I'd made a video on that, and I used I used some examples on Instagram of content that stopped my thumb. So basically, you know, the camera was on me, there was a camera on the screen, and I was going through these different bits of content, and I was explaining why it had stopped my thumb, explaining some of the psychology, the use of colours, the way it was composed, all that sort of thing. And one of the images was of sort of like some cliffs curving round the horizon with the beach, the water flowing in, and a pair of legs at the front. It was a point of view picture, so it was taken from the point of view of a person sitting on this sort of little grassy bank looking out onto this view. And it was really well composed, the colours were spot on, and it was evocative because it was taken from the position of the person, so you could imagine, you could place yourself
You were
in the
sitting
scene.
there.
For me, it ticked loads of boxes and what makes great content to stop thumbs. So that was one of the images among others. And I created a version for YouTube, and then I created a short 1 minute version for Instagram, put it on Instagram, and I tagged all of the accounts that I'd referenced in it. And immediately the woman with the legs and all that sort of stuff, she immediately commented, "Why have I been tagged in this? Remove the tag." And somebody who I'm friends with through work had seen that she'd commented on that, and her response was, "Why do you want the tag removed? He's praising your photograph." So she says, "Well, I don't know anything about this. I want the tag removed." And then this long back and forward started going on in the comments between her and I, where it turned out, I didn't know this, it turned out she was a travel influencer. So she gets paid to go on holiday by hotels and resorts and bed and breakfasts and travel destinations. She gets paid, but it takes up a lot of her time and a lot of her resources to go on these trips and create that sort of content.
Such a hard
and I
life.
was using it. I was using her content to make money for myself, and I was like, whoa. I'm not. Well, yes, you are. You're putting yourself forward as an expert, and you do coaching and this sort of thing. I says, listen, it comes down to fair use under copyright law that you get. I'm not claiming it's my content. You clearly get attribution, and for the purposes of commentary and critique, I'm allowed to do it. And she said, not only journalists are allowed to do it, because they don't get paid to criticise it. And then that's where the whole argument fell apart. Is that journalists don't work for free. Exactly.
No
Newspapers and magazines aren't made available for free unless it's the Metro. So that was kind of like, so basically she flagged it with Instagram, and immediately it was deleted, which really, really pissed me off because I was legally correct in doing it. So that kind of got my back up.
So Instagram, what, in the background, they're just thinking, we don't want any hassle about this.
It's an automated thing. She just said that my content belonged to her, and then basically, then there's no recourse. It's not like YouTube where you can file a counterclaim and all that sort of stuff. It was just gone. My hard work. Yes, because a lot of these guys, I mean, we could name names, motivational speakers, lifestyle gurus. They are now regarded as thought leaders, but really when they started, they were just influencers without necessarily the chops to back it out. They were charismatic enough. They were able to present themselves in such a way as to make them and their life and their ideas look appealing to people who are in a particular spot in their life. And then through time, they've become thought leaders, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, and it relates to something we were saying in the last video we made, that these folk will have other skills as well. So they might have a little bit of psychology, say, or life experience, whatever, but they know how to package it up. It's a marketing activity. They know how to work the business side of it. And I'm not being overly critical about that. I think everyone needs to make a buck, but again, I think as conscientious, critical customers, we need to think, okay, how much of this is entertaining showbiz, and how much of it actually is good advice? How would I test it?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of what I try to do is kind of like point out the bunkum. I want to bring bunkum back as a thing.
Good word. It's a good word.
There's a lot of bunkum out there.
I think we've kind of rambled. I know I've rambled a wee bit today. But I think I think the social media influence, I think bubble's going to burst. So from a marketing point of view, my advice is don't go there. Right? If we're a brand or a business, don't go there. That's my advice. Your comment is from a consumer level, is try and sniff out the bunkum. Scratch beneath the surface.
And it's true with every aspect of life, right? It's like, don't take things for granted, check things out, be more discerning, be more kind of critical, be devil's advocate, check. Even if it works, does it always work? If it worked for him, should it necessarily work for me? I always check things out.
Yeah.
I suppose I just, as you were moving into that kind of wrapping up tone that I noticed you were doing there, I'm anticipating people are going to post on however we post this on our social. I'm anticipating, well, that's easy for you to say. You're obviously trying to be influencers. So, I mean, like I said before, I invited people to say, yeah, man, if you think we're talking mints, call it, and then we'll have that conversation. Not just in this video, but our other videos, because I'm not scared of that, because if it turns out I'm talking mints, I need to know that. I want to know that so that I can up my game, so that I can...
I think I know I'm super opinionated about stuff, and I don't always have the science. And you didn't need to nod so emphatically, Randy. I'm super opinionated about things, and I know I don't always have the sort of the science or the research behind it, but I go with my gut a lot of the time, and my gut is right a lot of the time. Sometimes it's wrong, and I just feel with this whole bubble of social media influencers, my guts tell me it's going to burst. It's illegal, all the rest of it. There's just something completely... You used the word last week or the week before, the veneer. There's just a veneer about it, the way you scratch just beneath the surface. I just don't think it's good business for brands and product manufacturers or hotels or resorts to be taking that approach. And I think consumers need to be wise to it. Yeah.
Do you think we'll look back? It's like, if we look back at like adverts in the 70s, you know, like I'm thinking of like famous aftershave brand, and it's like guys coming out of the water, and it's like, you know, and you just look back and you just think that's just pure so cheesy, it's so cringy, it's so false. We're going to look back at the so-called influencers now, and we're going to think,
I think you're right. I also think you're right. Excuse me, between your belly rumbling, we having to clear my throat. It's an audio delight for everybody. I think you're right though. Let us know what you think of my opinions, Andy's opinions on things. The comments, etc. The way to do it,
and be ready to have the debate. If you call me, I might call you back.
Absolutely. All the comments we've seen so far have been positive, which is nice. But you know, maybe we've skirted into territory that's a wee bit more contentious. I don't know, possibly. We'll wrap up there. Social experiment podcast at gmail.com. If you're listening to this, not watching the video, you won't have seen the Twitter thing pop up on screen, so we've got a Twitter account. I'll save my opinions on Twitter to another podcast, but the Twitter account is Social X Podcast. That's where you can get us if you're interested in tweeting us. But the main thing's the email address, socialexperiment@gmail.com. Anything to say before we finish?
Thanks for listening.
Yep, thanks for listening, folks.